So let's start off with what we mean when we're talking about cultural heritage. And there's lots of definitions. UNESCO is always cited. I don't necessarily agree with that. I prefer this one, which is the Statutes of the Iranian Cultural Heritage Organization back in 1998. Can anybody see what the key point in this is? Right. Cultural heritage consists of resources remaining from the past that evidence the passage of throughout history. Recognizing the resources makes it possible to learn about the identity and the line of man's cultural evolution and the way to create a context for receiving lessons. What do you do? What are you interested in out of all of that? As professionals, what do you do? What are you doing in CREAMS? You are
presenting it.
You're creating spaces.
Creating the context.
Where lessons can be learned. So you are almost the end users in the pipeline from what we do. So we create content, and then it's there ready for you to use to create those learning spaces. You can call them exhibition spaces, or you can call them exposition spaces. So one of the things which I noted from your studies was the way which you were trying to design experiences. I understand that you're limited somewhat by the software which you have and the approaches which you have. So I've been building virtual worlds for over 20 years. And it comes down to, if you know Pine and Gilmore. Does anybody know Pine and Gilmore? No, good, then you won't argue with me. It's a little bit of a chunky model, but it basically says there are 4 things which we can do in a space. We can entertain, we can educate, we can have aesthetic qualities, and we can go into escapism. We can go outside the rules. And basically try and answer some questions. With entertainment, what can we do to attract the user? How can we make the experience fun? Sounds reasonable. With education, well, you can read it, it's on the board, I don't have to go through them all, and you'll have the presentation. So these are the kind of things that we need to think about when we're creating virtual spaces. The more passive participation side, and there's more active participation side, and then we have different kinds of. So that's something, a model which you might have a look at and think about. And the reason why I say that is because what you've done to create your experience is you've produced a digital twin of a gallery, which is good, but as Rebecca said yesterday, does that engage the user? If you don't get turned on by walking around an art gallery, just having it virtual, you're not going to get turned on by it. End of story. So it's about how we engage our users. So we have a digital transformation chain which we go through. The very first thing we say, who are we targeting at? Who's our audience? Why are we doing it? What kind of experience do we want? What resources do we have? And sustainability is a different question, but that's more or less how can it be used, reused, how does our designs get preserved if we're interested in that. I'm guessing that as part of your studies you have looked at exhibition design from people who have designed exhibitions in the past. No. Would it be helpful if somebody could go back and look at your exhibition designs and see insights into that design process which you're having? I think it probably would be. So when we're looking at engagements, there are basically four kinds. We have tangible, so that's where we're dealing with things. The passive, so we're just receiving stuff, television screens, fancy things like projection map. And then there's the intangible passive, so that's where you're just receiving it, but it's more theatrical. So we're looking at reenactment, demonstration stories. And when we're looking on the tangible side, that's things which we physically engage with. Tactile displays, sounds, sight, smells, very important, or aquatic activities, so learning by doing. And then we have intangible activities, which is where you're being involved in the scene somehow. That might be embedded performance, role play. Hello, I am Captain Smith of the Bounty. Ha ha! You, come, you're going to be a scullery maid, or whatever. And so we go, oh, hang on, I'm part of this now. And that's direct engagement with the character. But when we're doing digital engagement, there are three things which we must remember. It's got to address one of those things through the digital media, one of those four sections. We need to enhance the user experience. If you're just walking around an art gallery and looking at things which you can just do physically, what's the benefit of that? And we must not detract from the reality. So we can't make stuff up unless we can justify it. Okay? Does that make sense? Anybody violently disagree with that? Okay. There's the question about virtual realities and the different kinds of extended realities or cross realities. We just make stuff up when we name things. But essentially there's three kinds of visceral reality, that's our reality. Augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality. I'm particularly interested in virtual reality, as is the project. So there's a definition which you can do through there. Okay. There is a fourth kind which is virtual reality. But that's a bit more. Okay, so on London Shutter and something called Paradata, which you may come across at some point. You're all issued at the beginning with paper and pen. You're going to need that for this exercise. If you don't, you're going to be very, very sad. I'm sure there'll be some scratch lying around. This is called experiment number one. It's also called the tourist experiment number one. And I'm going to ask you to reconstruct an object. I'm going to give you a description of the object, and you're going to reconstruct it using pen and paper. Okay, everybody got the prerequisite pen and paper? Okay, so the object which we are going to reconstruct is a house. The information which you have about this object is it has 4 windows. There is a tree to the side of it, there is a cat in the top window, the smoke is coming out of the chimney, and there is a garden path to lead into it. That is all the information which you have to reconstruct this. You have 60 seconds starting now. This is all the information there is. But draw it. Seconds goes quite quick. Okay, pens down. So this is the kind of information which we have to deal with. We can do scanning, but when we're building memory trees, we have other information. Sometimes we need that information to fill in the gaps in what we have from our cultural heritage. In the same way that I'm guessing that when you're constructing an exhibition, you might just have this kind of information. Okay, so.
I started trying to do it 3D
I'm going to do some magic and just quickly scan the audience to read your minds. I haven't seen your paper. And good morning, welcome to 9:45. And okay, I believe that you will have done something. There's a lot of you, so it's a little bit noisy. But you'll have done something like this. Has anybody not got something which looks like that? Weird.
No, but I have nothing. I've tried making the house.
Exactly. I don't have that. I didn't finish.
Okay. So, hands up if I was close to what you had.
It's
Close. Close. Right. So I gave you the information, so it's more a case of how close were you.
Leading to the water.
So, given that information, all of your interpretation of that data is correct. You followed the rules. Did you? You followed the rules, except you tried to physically reconstruct it.
You said reconstruct.
Yeah, it's ambiguous words. There's a lot of ambiguity. So all of these are valid because they all follow the rules which were given. So what I'm interested in is if all of those are valid, why are they all valid? Because they're all similar but different. And all of them follow the rules, and you follow the rules, and your images are still going to be different. So they're all correct, but widely different. Anybody try and do something in 3D? Okay, you're about 5% of the population who do that.
But she gave up.
Honestly, I've never had anybody try to build something on paper. Did anybody not do either a naked tree or a sort of lollipop tree? So nobody do a Christmas tree. Okay. Right. That's another one. Where did you put the cat?
No, top window.
Which top window? Left or right?
I only have like
One.
I did it. I only have two.
I would like to remind you on the discussions which we had on the first day, so far as digitization and reconstruction concerned. And I still remember the comments coming from you, gentlemen. Yeah? If it's more or less this what we have in front of us, then it's okay. Voila, you remember? See there the four images, more or less are the same. Yeah.
So when we do our
But this is the correct one.
when we do our this is the authentic one. When we do our scanning, we're very precise, but we understand that when it comes to you guys, you need to be able to interpret that and bring out the narratives to engage people with the information. So why were things different? Now those are restricted available data, you're probably working off of ideal forms. I've run this experiment all over the world. From Scandinavia do exactly the same, Japan does the same, Australia does the same, and you just go, well, your architecture is different. So you're working on cultural archetypes, you're working on conventions, there's assumptions, there's preconceptions, priorities, ulterior motives. You want to please me because I'm English and go, oh, I must be thinking about an English house. You're making some personal choices and the aesthetics which you want. Is it a black cat? Is it a white cat? You're probably trying to augment it. The path never says in the description it's going to the house. But the path must go somewhere. The logical place is that it's going to the house. So that makes sense. Did anybody put any furniture on the floor? Like letterbox or a window or a handle? No. Curtains on the windows? So a lot of people do that because they're saying, no, this is a door or this is a window, to kind of emphasise that kind of information even when it's not there. Some stuff's just arbitrary. I put the cat there because it's, looks good. And sometimes people just misunderstand, like, here's a piece of paper, why don't you try and build a 3D model out of it?
It's difficult.
Yeah. So all of these kind of things play into creating the 3D model. So we're talking about post-processing. We can use the scanning information as a basis, but when we start to augment that by bringing in extra data or playing around with it, we're doing ancilosis, or if we're building environments for people to use, it's all about theatre, because nothing happens in the virtual world without somebody actually putting stuff in. So here we have the digital twin conundrum. This is a crater vase from Greece. Honestly, please. So on our side, what we're very, very good at, and we're increasingly getting better, is the quantitative method side. So we can measure stuff, we can record it, we can work in the multidisciplinary aspects of our side, and we can get things like materials, we can work with archaeologists. But there's so much more, and that's kind of where the multidisciplinary side gets extended into your domain, because you're probably interested in a whole bunch of other stuff. So, as an educator, I'm interested in the scholarly debate that stands around it. Obviously, our primary consumer is the crime sector. There's scientific analysis, the community histories that come in, that storytelling, that narrative. There's global perspective. What does it mean? If somebody has acquired artifacts, what's the legal status of that? What's the provenance? How are things protected? How does everything connect within the context of history or within the narrative? So we have all of these things which you guys are trying to pull out in your exhibitions. And why is that important? Because it's about personal engagement. What we're trying to do is get that user, that visitor, to go, wow, I'm really interested in that. I said this last night. As a kid, I grew up just outside of Colchester, which is the Roman capital of Britain. At 8 years old, I got banned from the museum. I got banned from the museum for asking too many questions, because I was the kid who wanted to get the part, the crater vase, out of the display cabinet. I wanted to touch it, to explore it, to see how it felt, what it looked like.
Funny story. Not long ago it happened in Israel, and a kid broke 6,000 gold pennies.
And he's been invited
He's
back.
been invited again, of course, they were happy. They said that we have more.
Well,
But it just happened. There's
I was interested not in the artifact, but trying to understand who made that artifact. Why some people from Italy 2,000 years ago decided to come to Britain from somewhere with good food, nice climate, relatively stable government, culture, to Britain, Britannia, where the weather's terrible, the food's appalling, everybody hates you, why would you want to do that? And why would you bring something like this through? And if we can engage the user, our visitor, then our ultimate goal is to change society. Whether that's through understanding, and understanding the commonalities between us as human beings, or whether we start to think about things in a broader context. If I understand the motivations of somebody to create art or to create culture, then that gives me an insight into them, which I may not have had, so I get an understanding. Or have I got the whole point of creating exhibitions totally wrong? So why we create exhibitions, we create galleries, so that we can understand motivations, ideas, concepts, and inspire people to be better than themselves, or are we just sticking pictures on the wall because they look nice? We will debate this at another time.
Rebecca?
Okay. So, what the London Charter tries to do is bridge the gap between where we're doing hardcore scientific recording of stuff and how we get it into virtual worlds to use it in a meaningful way. And it's about two things really, intellectual transparency and provenance. So it's very simple. The document is about 9 pages long. It's not translated into Hebrew or into Greek, just saying. But there are many different translations. And there are 4 aims to it. One, we need to establish some rules, which everyone can say, yep, this is what we're talking about. We need to define what it is we're trying to achieve, because we're not always very clear about what it is we're trying to achieve when we do something. We're trying to maximize the return on investment. Building stuff in virtual takes time, it takes money, and you put a lot of effort into it. And if that's not realized and capitalized upon, then you're just reinventing the wheel every time, and you're wasting time, effort, and money. And finally, to promote the integrity, transparency, quality, and cooperation within the digital cultural heritage community. If I scan something, I want you to be able to use it. I genuinely do. But if you can't use it because we haven't agreed on file formats or size or whatever, you're not going to be able to use it. Therefore, I'm wasting my time because you're not being able to exploit what I've created for you. So it's a two-way dialogue.
Yeah.
So I've tried to have just 6 principles where we should apply it, because it might not be appropriate to do it. Where the limits of the digitalization is, so that we don't overextend ourselves and say, well, we'll scan the whole world and start there. Where we identify where our research sources are, so there's a lot of information, we need to say, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is why this is done like this. The reason why we need to record the research sources is that so we can audit it, so that we can have confidence that the view on the data that you are showing is correct, is not necessarily the truth, but a truth. And there's certain places in the world we don't use archaeology from because it's been co-opted for political reasons. If you went had photographs from Pompeii prior to 1923, and it's terrible. It's an archaeological site. Post 1923, suddenly everything's been, oh look, we've just discovered a temple. But the photographs from 5 years previous don't show that temple, and it was not recorded. It was part of Mussolini's big idea to recreate a modern Rome as part of his political agenda. If we have, if I want you to use my stuff and you want to use my stuff, we have to be able to keep that sustainable. Otherwise, we're just going to go back and do all the work again. And we have to have access to that data so that it can be used and reused in the future. Everybody happy with that? So I should say that the London Charter was originally done for born digital things, so it's using plans, photographs, and trying to work out, much like you do, for those using 3D Studio Max and other modeling tools, bring it into Revit or Rhino and go, okay, based on what I see, based on the evidence, how can I reconstruct or visualize the object, and then how to use that to test out different theories. But there is a caveat in it which says that each specific community should develop their own charter. If you decide to develop your own charter on how to create virtual spaces as exhibitions or exposition spaces, you should be creating your own charter to say, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve, and this is how we interface with all the, or how we want to interface with the rest of the digital humanities community. No one's going to do it for you. So we have some challenges when we're dealing with visualization, because it's now we're taking that step away from the authenticity, and now we're looking at the confidence of what our visualization is, because we're making stuff up. When I say making stuff up, I mean it's a consensual hallucination. You want to, I want to fool you, and you want to be fooled. So, is it illustration or is it primary research? It's primary research because I can walk around a space and I can go, oh look, here, that's interesting. It's not illustration. And then if I can tap into that and get data out, I'm getting more feedback from the model, so they become valuable. Visualization is not reconstruction. There is another set of principles called the Seville principles, which you probably look at in various reconstructions or visualizations of archaeology, which goes into that further. It's often used to prove a thesis. No, visualizations are only ever part of the explanation. That they don't prove anything unless you can back it up, and then it's still a hypothesis. How propagation of doubt is one of my favorite things. If I say, this is a, oh, I don't know, let's choose something, a baby bottle, you're going to go, okay, it's a baby bottle. But is it a baby bottle? Or is it an ascos? Is it something else? And by being able to access the information through the visualization of the object, you then get to make up your own mind whether it's a baby bottle or a toy, or whether it's something that was buried with a middle-aged farmer, possibly used for libations on the grave, rather than something which is had since birth. But that digresses. We have problems with contextualization again, because if I say something is true and you believe me as an authority, you can't access the information that go into making this very persuasive visual argument, then you're just being sheeple. You just say, yeah, that's how it was. And there's a difference between how science and engineering deals with cultural heritage and how the arts and humanities deals with cultural heritage. So that's what we're trying to bridge. Obviously, we need to think about principles of fair and care. Again, FAIR principles only came out in 2016. The London Charter dates back to in its original form, 2009. So we're already thinking about how we deal with that, how do we access information. If anybody gets a joke, they get 10 points. It's a chance to redeem yourself. No, okay. So Paradata, just need to clear up some things. There's some misunderstanding about what Paradata is, because unfortunately, I didn't reuse a word, but there were two different definitions of what Paradata is. The definition which I gave, which was Paradata from the Greek, and then Cooper, who was a little bit before, who was a statistician, saying, well, you can record keystrokes, because that's kind of interesting when you're doing surveys, and that's Paradata, because it's in America. So just to clear that up. Also, use the Latin or the Greek. Small people. There are now multiple different definitions depending on how the different communities have interpreted it, but you can probably see from those what we're particularly interested in is recording the process. So we know with metadata, that's the additional information that we have to help describe an object. But how did it happen? It just doesn't magically appear, right? So yesterday, when we created the header links, there will be a whole bunch of paradata, that's metadata that goes with that. But what about the equipment that was used? Because that doesn't get recorded, but it might be important if you're using two different kinds of cameras and you get two different kinds of results, which one's correct. If we start then to alter that data, whether we're doing 3D modeling, or we're changing the textures, we're filling in holes, that kind of information needs to be recorded, otherwise we're saying something that isn't necessarily true. So with Paradata, what we try to do, and I should say there are 4 different kinds of Paradata have been identified. So this is kind of the big view. We want to focus on the process, the analysis, and the interpretation of what we're doing. Paradata, we tend to say we accept all data, we consider all data as neutral, we don't judge data, but we don't judge the context. We try to understand the context which that data is being put in. And we don't say, oh, we only deal with digital, we deal with analog, we deal with tangible, intangible. We don't care, we'll take all the data in and then try and work out how that fits together in a holistic way. And that needs to be documented, because otherwise you're just bunching stuff together and it makes no sense. So if we can bring all that together, explain it, document it, capture that context, then we achieve intellectual transparency. If you're familiar with the DIC-W model, which is how data changes, data metamorphosis, we start with data, and we do some analysis, we put in some structures, and we progress up a key chain. Data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Well, Paradata says that's not necessarily, when you use Paradata, that is not necessarily true. It's not linear anymore. It's not a pyramid. It starts this more onion-shaped model. And we can still go from raw data straight up to our conclusions.
This is what we discussed also the first day, yeah? Here is where we are, huh? You remember, discussion we had about digitization, why to digitize, and then how to document, voila. Because at the end of the day, you digitize in order to have knowledge, story, memory. Huh? It's a unique object. It's whatever.
But with the additional Paradata, because it's there, and you will have said, I accept this, I reject this, I include this, I don't include it. I can come along and I can say at any point on this line, I agree with you up to here, but I want to look at this aspect. So last night we were discussing the Parthenon. We're going to reconstruct the Parthenon. Which Parthenon? So I say here I'm going to do the Periclean Parthenon, and we can agree up to here. At this point, somebody else can say, okay, at that point I'm not interested, I'm doing the archaic. And we can start to branch out from that, either enhancing the model by including additional data load, which of course is going to be open so everyone can see it and start bringing out their own conclusions and even sub-branches. Again, this was all conceived before things like GitHub. Okay, almost there. So, why should you do Paradata? First of all, it's going to add time to your workload. But it does record everything that you've done. It communicates your research rationale, why you did something. Because sometimes you just read papers and you just go, what are you trying to do here? I don't understand. Provides the context so that those lessons can be learned, because that will be expressed within 3D environment that you've created. It allows people to evaluate not only the space, but also the information which is brought into that space, and also the interpretation. Sorry, were you reading at me? No, sorry. Because that information is there, because it can be challenged, because it's now transparent, I can say, do you know what, I don't agree with you. This is my view on the data. So now we're having a dialogue and we can collaborate to look at new research opportunities, new ways of exploring data. Wouldn't it be great if we could do this? Sure, we've got all the information, let's see how we can do that. We then are able to recognize the contribution of those people who are making models, because how do you cite a 3D model? Anybody got any ideas on that? No. If we have that, we can allow peer review, which means that we have confidence in our models. If you've got confidence in my model, you're going to want to reuse it. You're going to want to bring it in rather than spend all of that time creating your own model. Just the data which you're going to attach to that model will be your own interpretation, and I've already done half the work for you. Does that make sense? There's a lot of cowboys out there. We are in a new frontier. We're exploring all of this new media. We really don't know how to use it. I've been playing around with it for 20 years, and there's stuff that comes through every day. We need a sheriff to be able to kind of wrangle these ne'er-do-wells who will come in and come up with crazy ideas that are not sustainable. Has anybody played around with Second Life? No. I spent 2 years of a project in Second Life. It's dead. You can't access it anymore. Because somebody said, wouldn't it be great if we did this? And I'm going, no, of course it was. So we have these challenges. If we have something, a guiding principle, which I would advocate with the London Charter, to keep these guys in check, it gives us a common ground so that we can understand each other. And we can understand, again, the multidisciplinary side of digital cultural heritage and digital humanities. Because if we don't talk, and we don't talk the same language, there's going to be so much misunderstanding. We're just going to keep on reinventing the wheel. This guy's going to go over here and I don't know, set up a ranch. This guy's going to do a gold mine. We're not going to have any cohesive. I'll take it with start.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, where are you going?
I had a couple of things. I had a note.
Yes.
A note.
So, we are opening a short discussion of a couple of minutes. I think quarter to 11. We have just a few minutes. Yes. Anything to be asked? But I think now to conclude and bring everything together from the first day up to now, it's not just only digitize. Okay? It's not only about digitization. It's also about digital documentation. You got the message, yeah? It's about digital documentation. Digitization, it's nothing, okay? Just so you use your mobile, you digitize, okay? And then a software, you can create the 3D. But there is no meaning, there is no story, there is no knowledge, there is nothing behind that, okay? It's just only a geometry. So therefore we are talking, and in case now here of the CREAMS project and virtual exhibitions, it's all about the exhibition of virtual knowledge.
You
not
make
3D.
It's your job to make our stuff look good. No pressure.
So this is the message that we wanted to send out at least from our side, at least as a partner of the CREAMS project. Okay? Digitization is something, but digital documentation is more. And this is what is needed at the moment. And that has to be correct, authentic, okay? Because in that one, in this, whatever digital documentation is hidden, but in a high quality, and it has to be identity. Huh? And if it's about the past, identity, it's the main issue. Okay? But even if it's an artistic work, it has to do with IPR issues, it has to do with several other important issues, and yeah, we have to take that into consideration always. Okay? Any comments from your side? Yes, Rebecca, please.
So I was wondering if within your research, if there appear in the lab elements that can be sold, they can be displayed in a gallery, and they come with an authenticity of certification. So I was wondering if you guys are looking into this in your research.
We are going a step further in the Eureka 3D project, and we established there for the first time a unique object ID. Unique object ID, identification, like the DOI that you have by the publications.
But this can be easily falsified.
No, that's the issue. We are going a step beyond the token story. It's a long story. I will explain that to you later during the break. I will find a link and send to you because it has to do also with one invention. I will explain that to you later, yeah? But I need first to find the link and probably to present it here. Just a second.
So the NFT is not like mostly used for businesses, for like making profit and only for making profit. How is it possible to use it for a research, university, for academia?
I don't see it.
I see it that way. I don't know why. It has this kind of label in my. I don't know why.
It's an authentication certificate.
It's part of. It's not the only one though. There's other authentication that
You can monetize it if you want to, but you don't have to. You can have free NFTs, which come with an authentication certificate. But
And
it
who
can
gives
be
the
more.
authentication?
It's the artist.
Is there an organization?
It's a decentralized, like the Bitcoin. It's a decentralized way of attaching these certificates to digital objects, like the Bitcoin.
Okay.
It's decentralized, so you can create a decentralized authentication
Can
certificate.
you get also CC rights from that? How do you get the rights from your? How you can justify that no other person can get the rights?
There is a
from you?
blockchain technology built-in NFT.
So it's easy to.
There is blockchain as technology built-in into NFTs. So you're not like copy an object and have the same authentication, because if you have to copy the whole chain.
And how do you cite it if you want to use it for your research or your publication, to write a paper? So how do you cite it? Like that's the author, that's the creator of this.
There is the information of the one who created the object, the information of the one who owns it, and the information of the person who owns the code before it.
Okay, so it's possible to cite and to
Yes.
officially to cite an NFT. Okay, I don't know.
But
I didn't.
it can be monetized, it can be used for business, but that's not the point of the NFT. The point of the NFT is to give the authentication certificate. So exactly what Mr. said, to define who's the owner and who's the artist.
Okay, that's
who's the, so it's a way
But it's
of-
because it was mostly used for profit, in my opinion, it's like,
They
it
try,
has this kind of label.
like everything, they try to use it for profit, but that's not the point.
In the first time in digital history, we can make copies, but we can have an original as well. It's not determined by like the digital file, but the data that comes.
Who gets the most profit, the creator or the owner?
It's not about, but the NFT is not about the profit. You can use it to make profit.
So if I'm the
That's
creator,
not what
someone
it's
else
about.
can get the rights from me and
You
use
can-
my
you can purchase it.
purchase
Like
it,
you
yeah.
can purchase, like you can get Bitcoin, it's a decentralized.
And then the person who purchases it can sell it to others, easily.
But you as an owner, you need to incorporate in the metadata of the NFT that you have sold to another person.
It's like in the stock market, you know, maybe you take an NFT now from Rebecca, but it costs nothing, and after a year that NFT has a value, you know, exponentially. So
And then the owner is aware that, because maybe he's not aware
No,
that
it's
it
like
has
when you buy a house here in Cyprus. You go in the registry and you register the house in your name. So the NFT is this registry. It's just a digital, non-centralized registry that it exists and it can prove that you own this digital art piece or heritage piece. So it's very different than just assigning a number.
It's interesting. I've never
No, we are using, Rebecca, we are using blockchain. It's a combination of blockchain, exactly this what you mentioned earlier, but also the RFID. You may probably know Mr. RFID, John Graves, American, the inventor of the RFID, which is well used in the area of cultural heritage. Yeah? One of the case studies is here
I think
in Ardolf exhibition in Singapore. Yeah?
In my opinion, I think the heritage sector is more conservative on the usage of NFT. I don't know.
Yes, maybe that's why I'm asking.
But it's a good, point.
That this can give.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But nevertheless, this is what we do now within the project, and within our metadata, we create a unique ID for the digital record, okay, for this 3D, which is given once in the world. It's a centralized system. It's, let's say, the result of a new project, which moved to a product, and now there is a consortium, which is, you can ask and then you can get an object ID. And this object ID is not too mixed up with the standard object ID, which is used by Interpol, by Europol, for looting and destruction of cultural heritage objects. There is always a misunderstanding there. But that's the solution at the moment here. Okay? Now, it's a long discussion. We will talk later about that during the break, but it is something which is now started to be used around the world. And here for the first time, so far as European are concerned, the Digital Library or the Digital EU Repository on Cultural Heritage, the project, the Eureka 3D, that you got the brochure, is using this object ID for the first time, including, something blockchain, RFID, and so on and so on.
So my kind of final thoughts, based on the presentations yesterday, was you learn the medium. Okay, VR is a disruptive technology, has the power to do that. Break it. Sorry. Explore it. Try out crazy things. I've got some recommended reading. If you haven't read them, you will really benefit. Read Homo Ludens, that's Man the Player, by Johann Husing. I'll send you the titles. It's about the theory of play and how you play with spaces. The one is Towards Poor Theatre, which is about how you stage theatre, by Joseph Grotowski. There's a lot of mystical stuff in there, but there's some very interesting chapters. He had the problem of how do I compete with theatre, live theatre against television and film. And we have exactly the same problem. How do we deal with all these other things that are going on? There's a bunch of other stuff. It depends on also paradata and transparency in virtual heritage by Anna Bantowski. Careful if you do not. Please buy my book. There's other things in there as well, but they're possibly not more relevant. But if you're interested in any of those aspects, drop me a line. Okay, that was it. I've given you a reading list. I will be following up with the next time.
Just a second, Prue, let me ask the people online if you can please turn off the microphone. We had, since the time the meeting here started, a lot of discussions. And today, by the last part of the meeting here, we wanted to clarify and have a clear understanding of what is digitization and what is digital documentation. So, for our project, for virtual exhibitions, we are of the opinion that this, what it is needed, it's not a digitization, it's a real digital documentation. Yeah? Why? Because exactly of this what Drew mentioned at the beginning. I don't know if you were from the start of his presentation online, where he gave the nice example with the house, with the windows, with the tree, with the cat on the window, huh? You were at that time? And the participants here had to follow up and draw. Yeah. And the participants had here to follow up and, you know, take a paper and a pen and try to do what? Create a house, create some windows on the house, on the wall, a tree next to the house, smoke coming out of the chimney, and so on and so on and so on. So we had here 15 participants, and we had 15 different houses. Okay? So that's all about now. Digitize, yeah? Digitize, it means digitize, create an identified copy, an exact copy, yeah, within a certain mathematical interval, of course, yeah? This is all about. And not only the geometrical structure, but also the information, the intangible, the story, the memory, which can be embedded in the 3D. Here where we focus all the time, the entire time. And then, of course, about the metadata. What is metadata? Do we need only metadata, or do we need also the paradata? Yeah? To the data. And, of course, what a kind of metadata? We gave references to two ISO standards, the Lido and the Dublin Code, isn't it, Marius? Which I think one or the other, or both, depending now if it's a museum object, if it's a library object, or if it's a gallery object and so on, has to be used in the project, so that you can have a standardized metadata in the way how professionals are using metadata. Yeah? So in galleries, for example, if it's all about paintings, or if it's all about drawings, or if it's all about some artifacts or whatever. Yeah? Okay? It's clear. No, I'm asking if it's clear on your side.
Yes, the thing is to be clear to the students.
Yeah.
And all is open.
Of course. They are here. We take care of them.
The whole discussion is for the students, not.
Yeah. We had the opportunity yesterday to digitize Venus, and they will take even the virtual Venus with them today back home, and they will reproduce the Venus. Of course, Marius is going to take it also with him to try to upload. I don't know if he will manage, but he will upload in the virtual exhibition space. We will hand over to you also the metadata, the correct metadata and paradata. You can play Marius. It's a testing time period. And once when they print in a 3D printer the Venus, you know what they are going to do? They are going to scan it again, send it back to us, and then we will compare it with the original and see what the kind of results we achieved. Similar to the case of the house, the windows, the car, we will see what is going to come out of that. Okay? But that's a nice exercise. Okay? So they learned a lot yesterday, and we will continue, of course, with our hands-on experience directly after the break today. One for mobile phone to digitize. So Panagiotis is going to show it to you. Then you can download one application which is free of charge. It's secure, it's safe. There is absolutely no problem. You can download it. As soon as you download it on your mobile, you can activate it, and then you can use it automatically. And do what? Exactly this is what Panagiotis is going to show to you now. More or less 60% of this what we are going to do with the digitization in the CREAMS project. Okay? And now, Panagiotis.
Yeah, so the app is from Reality Capture. Reality Capture is a software on desktop and laptops. It's a software from, I think it's from Unreal Engine as well. It's Unreal Engine. But they have this app on Android and iPhones as well. Reality Scan is called. And we tested, and it brings you really good results for photogrammetry. You can get them easily from your phone.
Just a minute, a comment. We invested a lot of time to compare, all the different applications available on the time to use or to reuse within the framework of CREAMS. Of course, during the CREAMS project time period, it was not possible for us to go and sit and write the code, the script for such an application for 3D reconstruction. That's a very complicated project. A lot of engineers here to work to accomplish such a challenging application. Nevertheless, we found an application like measuring, which is, according to the reviews, one of the best, 5 best worldwide. For our now challenges within the project, measuring is not working. It's not feasible to be a real, let's say, usable tool for young people, for students, for whatever other interested persons to create virtual exhibitions in a very quick one way to digitize and do that. So therefore, at the end of the day, just to keep the story short, because I want you to really get another one hands-on training today by downloading this application and use that. The best out of the best to use for beginners. Beginners are those defined who, for their first time in their life, are coming in touch with such a kind of applications. That's the so-called one-eye blind persons. Okay, they don't know anything, they are not aware what 3D means or whatever. The app is helping a lot. Okay? And I think it's a must to be used for the CREAMS project. So, now, floor is yours.
Yeah, so the app is from Reality Capture. Reality Capture is a software on desktop and laptops. It's a software from, I think it's from Unreal Engine as well, related to Unreal Engine. But they have this app on Android and iPhones as well. Reality Scan is called. And we tested and it brings you really good results for photogrammetry. You can get them easily on your phone.
Just a minute comment. We invested a lot of time to compare, okay, all the different applications available at the time to use or to reuse within the framework of CREAMS. Okay? Of course, during the CREAMS project time period, it was not possible for us to go and sit and write a code, the script for such an application, facility reconstruction. That's a very complicated project. A lot of engineers here to work to accomplish such a challenging application. Nevertheless, we found an application like measuring, which is, according to the reviews, one of the best, 5 best worldwide. For our now challenges within the project, measuring is not working. Okay? It's not feasible to be a real, let's say, usable tool for young people, for students, for whatever other interested persons to create virtual exhibitions in a very quick one way to digitize and do that. So therefore, at the end of the day, just to keep the story short, because I want you to really get another one hands-on training today by downloading this application and use that. The best out of the best to use for beginners. Beginners are those defined who, for their first time in their life, are coming in touch with such kind of applications. Okay? That's the so-called one-eye blind persons. Okay? They don't know anything, they are not aware what 3D means or whatever. The app is helping a lot. Okay? And I think it's a must to be used for the CREAMS project. So, now, floor is yours.
Not only the tool, it's also the way you take the pictures. So that's what I'm going to show you now. How to get the. You can share the screen and I can share my.
Am I sharing the screen? Follow the steps one to one. Okay? But then you have to reset at the end and return back and take over. Yes, now, please.
So you just click the cross here, and it gives you two options. One option, you do the photogrammetry with using just the video of the object, but I don't recommend this because using this way you cannot control the position of the images. So it's best to click this and just take the pictures on your own, so you control like the position that you would take the picture. And also the idea of this is not only like just going around in one just like that. This is not correct. You need to make a proper photogrammetry of an object. You have to go like really big as down as possible. Let's say you go low and then you go to this height, you go around, and then you go to this height, and again you go around the object, and then on top. So this is the proper way that you can capture the whole object.
90% and above.
So I will start.
Try to keep the distance to the object constant, the distance to the object. You don't need a lot of the surface of table to be captured. You don't need a lot of the background to be captured. You are more than happy if the biggest part, which is covered in your image, is part of the object or the total object. Moving too fast there. Okay, it's just only one exercise just to see what it works, what doesn't work.
When you stop to the position that you started, you go to different height. So like that, for example.
Now you see, Marius, this is extremely important during the digitization to have an idea about the quality of your results. Mushroom is not offering us this option. Okay? In Mushroom, you have first to go and capture all the images, then fit them to the program, to the application, wait a couple of, I don't know how long, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, and then suddenly either the application is crashed or there is a problem and you have to redo the procedure from the beginning. But here, during the digitization, you get an idea of what is going on, about the quality.
So the app for the CREAMS platform will be something?
No. We are, yes, it's something like that, but now it's here to learn how to digitize.
Oh no, I mean the app for the CREAMS platform is going to be, you're going to build...
Based on that, yes, based on
It's
that.
another app, or not from the existing
No,
apps?
it's going to be different, but it's based on this.
And it will be open to everybody, or for...
Yeah, it's somewhere you can download and do whatever you want to do.
So
if you manage.
it will be another free scanning app.
Never, but it's based on this principle.
Yeah.
So if you know how to use that, then you know how to use the other one, more or less. Now the issue is how to use it so that this what you are going to create is usable, even for visual exhibitions. And if someone is visiting your exhibition, okay, virtual exhibition, to be interested to use or reuse the content.
I say it from a technical perspective because most of the apps are having a limit features because they have a paid plan. So if this app is going to be free and open, it's something.
Yes. No. There where you will find the limitations is the bandwidth to upload, to harvest, to the platform. And then, of course, the CREAMS platform to process the data.
Okay.
So if you have now, I don't know, half gigabyte, but you are in an area with 3G or 2G, that's a blast.
the object is the head? I mean, why doesn't it scan the table? No, it scans the table, but why not the chair?
Yeah, because we are interested not on the chair, not on the table.
I know what we're interested in, but how does the phone know that?
It doesn't.
How was the phone not by mistake?
No. Yeah, okay, yeah. Exactly, because of the structure for motion algorithm that I tried to explain to you yesterday. The system is trying over the input, over all these images coming now in, to find common points. So the chair or the ground or the table or whatever includes common points in, let's say, 10% of the within of whatever 100 images. So not interesting. Oh. Yeah. And if it's interesting for you, you have to read it to cover it better. But the good thing here is, compared to Europe, you see it online, real time, that something is missing, or something is done, I don't need to recapture it. It's closed, more or less. Yeah? So if it's a small object, not such a big one like this one, okay? And we have small objects over there, and you have to try to do that. Okay, and with the help and support of Marios, I will ask all of you not only to create the 3D, but also to upload it on the CREAMS platform. Okay, Marios? From the mobile. No, we want to exercise that. Okay, Marios, we want to test that. Yeah, of course. So now Panagiotis is shooting a lot of images. It will take some time, but even it's fast. With Metro, it will take you some hours.
But you have to take a lot of pictures, because then you won't.
Yeah.
You won't manage to get. It depends on the object, though.
Yeah.
Some objects are easier. Some others are more difficult.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a system which works, which you can trust, and you can get quick results.
I have a question.
Voila.
I saw the whole process. As you go on the phone, the dots became like next.
Sorry? Can you repeat it? Because I was. Yeah.
I said, I saw like in the entire process that when you were taking the pictures, the dots became like next. So
Yes.
when it's like ready, so it's like very, you can see like all the dots are like in color and that's
Yeah, these are the type points. These are called type points. It's like it finds all the common points and it creates an initial point cloud. So it's like it's coordinates of the object. So X, Y, Z coordinates. You know, when you have the elevation, like here is the height. The X, Y, Z coordinates. Yeah. And it finds these type points, and these are the points that it shows to you. And as you take more pictures, it managed to find more points and more geometry. Because here, for example, you cannot see it from here. That's why I went down to see all these details. You can even go, if the table was smaller as well, you can even go further down.
The camera can see.
But if I don't take that picture, it wouldn't take that point. Yeah. The same on top. Even I take it on top, I have to go really on top to take like those areas that are hidden.
If you want the bottom of it to close it, you can move it, or you cannot move the object.
No, the object, if it's
So it's always going to be open on the bottom.
it should be, the object should be stable. You are moving around the object.
If it's possible, or you are in one position and the object is rotating.
So here it is.
One or the other. Yesterday
But it's
we
going to
did
be
the
open,
second
it's
one.
not going to be waterproof because it's open on
You
the
can
bottom.
No, it doesn't matter. Below, yeah, but the part below is not interesting for us now. If it's interesting, then we have to,
Yeah.
fix the object somewhere here. Depends on
What do you mean?
the whatever. Here.
So these are the points that you said. You see they are even colored. It takes also the RGB value of each point. So each point has a color as well. Yeah. And then you have to because as you said previously, it takes also the surrounding environment, even though we are focusing on this. But the points on the surrounding environment are more sparse, are not that dense. So you have to kind of crop the area that you want. For example, here I have to crop the area of the head. I don't need to process the surroundings, so that it takes more time and it's not.
So the ideal way to picture it is like in a neutral background, so it won't take.
Yes, that would be much better. But again, because it works in this, even with a clean table and to have a space to go around and a good lighting, you can do. It's not like you need a green screen or something. You don't need those machines. Just this environment, maybe the smaller table, but again,
process.
Yes, yeah, we'll process.
So that we process. Не стига се просто кара. Ако, ono misura anche nel caso dalle schede. No. After that, then put the date.
Hey, it tells you the date, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Mario, is your mobile, please? Download the application.
Okay.
iPhone. Yeah, it's also for iPhone. But our app is going to run on your phone number.
Okay, so now it's processing.
Yeah. It's by 50%. Please take time and see, record the time, just to check.
Yeah,
What
depends
is
on
out of which, how many images?
Above 100, so 100 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the amount of image. I could have taken less, but I wanted to show.
What is the resolution of each one of the images?
I have to see from the. Well, depends on your phone.
Yes, it is. But because we know the total amount of data here, dividing this number by the resolution of the images, then we know exactly the number of images. So the resolution of the images from the exercise yesterday afternoon, it was 3.3 megapixels per image. And out of 330 images, we managed to create a very nice 3D model. Drew, moving.
Okay,
So who wants to
process?
Start. Yeah.
Let's see the results.
So, Marius, it's finished. Finished.
Yeah, see,
Within
half an hour.
9 minutes. Okay?
I'm gonna
Now, it's just the
Actually,
export,
high
export locally or globally.
Wow, so it's
So, voila.
Took some time, but it's detailed.
For you, it's the best, especially for interior designers.
to be.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's the wall.
and then play with the light, play with the different whatever features you have there or parameters. Κοίταξε να μην βλέπεις το μπάτσο που λέει Sharon. Δεν είναι Sharon σκέψα, είναι Sharon CREAMS.
Okay, and now you can export the 3D model. Can we export? Yeah, you have to export. You can export and yeah, you can save it in Drive. For example, you have Google Drive.
So,
Google Drive. No, I think it's online. And the email. The email was the Καλό, στο στυλό. Ναι. Zip. And GLB. Ένα μου το έξω.
Βάλε Μάριος. BGLK.
Ενωμένα είναι. Δεν ξέρω, κάτι δεν
Στείλες μου το πας στο UCY, εντάξει.
Έτσι.
Ναι, πέρα. @gmail.com. Θα το δοκιμάσω όλα.
10 MB. 10 MB.
So that's what I wanted to do. But then I started this.
I wanted that I download and check if it's readable. If it's not readable, you don't need to go to Israel to tell us it's not readable.
Okay,
I can check it.
But try. My hands are, I don't know. I prefer with the classic way, but yeah, I know it's.
Okay, so now. To the process.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
כן,
Okay?
בערך.
Still take it. If you go there and show it to him, camera. Zoom in, make it a little bit bigger so that.
Yes, then continue.
No. Comments there. This is Mr. Gede.
They just we have to make
José non Gede.
I don't know how you call it, but we build properties with.
Here.
Yes.
Buildings, they just fall apart. But that's like a safety reason.
Εντάξει, δεν είναι. Πολύ καλό είναι. Είδες, εντάξει.
Πρέπει αυτό να το ασχοληθείς χωρίς να υπερνηθείς το
Κάνεις export. Ναι, και σου το γίνεται. Export.
Πρέπει να μαθαίνει λίγο. Είχαμε το με το βίντεο.
Ahora
Με το βίντεο, άμα προχωράς. Keep the mobile, keep the...
I sent it to my email.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring it back, please, because we hand over now the certificates, and you have to show.
To show
the certificate, and you show the mobile with the model.
Thank you.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Bravo.
Accept.
Accepted. Adios. I want to see your results. It starts with the Eleftherios. Here.
Miriam,
Something else.
Meet the staircase.
The stairs. Nice. Εδώ, κοίταξε. Βλέπετε εδώ.
How many steps?
How many steps? Didn't count them.
Take the pantofla and show. Yes. You pass the exam before you arrive here. Exactly. So now let me hold that, and you show the here. This is the zoom in. That's it. Say it. Excellent.
זה אקונומיקה.
Congratulations, madam. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes. That's it. No. Zoom in. Exactly. Now you will see. Now you will see a digital replica. Now you will see a digital replica here. The digital replica. Έλα μεγάλε, έλα εδώ.
Κωνσταντίνε, παιδί μου.
Έλα εδώ. Κωνσταντίνο, έλα εδώ. Στάθου εδώ για να σε βλέπω να δεις εδώ digital replica. Έλα. Μπράβο, αυτό είναι. Έλα. Μπράβο, αυτό είναι. Έτσι, αυτό είναι. So, exactly. We did it. We are the champions. Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is the same.
No one will. No, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Bravo,
Here we are. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Leave the mobile there.
So next, Eden. New one mobile.
It's the same mobile.
We need at least to change the cover.
Okay, look at me, please. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time, Next time. Here we are.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then, yes. Here we are.
It's a different one. Thank you.
So, and now, Marius, you have to upload both objects on the platform, and then he is getting this. He is eligible to get his certificate once when the models are on the platform.
Okay.
He needs to show to us the one. Yes. Now it's gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen. Now it's the upload. Megale. Now it's the upload. True. Now it's the upload. Now we will see if the system crashed or not.
Let's see. I think the students have used it.
Yes, of course. But it's now we
let's
close
see
the
exactly.
entire procedure.
So we are going to I'm logged in as a student. We go to the artwork section, and I will add a new 3D artwork. I'm adding a thumbnail, and Panagiotis has sent me the exported version of Aphrodite, which is
Uploaded, yes, exactly. Yes.
And I'm okay for just for demo purposes. I'm selecting the
file,
the texture basically, but it can be it's a thumbnail, so that the student is able to do it as they wish. This is a GLB file. So the system supports now 3 types of models: GLB, GLTF, and OBJ. This is a GLB. Saving it. So this is the first step. And in the next step, in the 3D artworks, I need to upload any associated files: the model, the binary file, the texture, and anything else that is relevant to the 3D object. I'm in the same folder, the downloads Aphrodite. So here we have three files: a GLB and 2 JPEG images, which are the textures. And I'm uploading them.
How big are the files?
It was 10 megabytes.
Very quick.
Yeah, it was quite fast. Now it's available in my 3D artwork repository. For just to quickly view, we have a quick 3D viewer, just to see that how it was uploaded, and then I'm going to add it in the exhibition. So this is the result. And the next step, just very quickly, to add it in an exhibition.
Exactly. As an object in an open, whatever.
Exactly. So for the VR exhibitions, I have an exhibition here already. I need to go to the curatorial process, select the artworks that I'm using in my exhibition. I need to go to the selection, and it's the last one here. So I'm selecting it, and I could select some more, but this is as part of the curatorial process. System. I'm going to the VR editor. It is a new exhibition, so I create the map with a starting point and a T-shape. System is loading. So on the left part, I have is the room that was created.
The walls, yes.
The walls and so on.
Space, yeah.
So everything is wall driven. So if I want to add an artwork, I need to select a wall. I'm going to the artworks. Here are the 2 artworks that I've selected in the curatorial process. I'm selecting the wall. We have an indication that the wall is selected. That's the wall is selected. And I'm assigning the 3D model. Okay, this is the size that was exported, and I can go to the Adjustments tab, select this 3D element that has been added. It's part of the list of elements. And here I can move it up, scale it up.
Okay, there I want.
Okay, move it in the Z-axis. Rotate it. Okay, here I'm going to make it faster. Rotate it to the right. This is the result. So I can go. This is how it looks like.
Yeah, not bad.
This is the result, and you can add a spotlight, add some more lighting, and so yeah, this is
Mr. Marius, come here please if you want to make a picture from this side. Well, Artemis, because you can see it here on the screen of the computers. No, but it's not so good as it's on the screen. Yes.